The third year of forcibly taking everything from Sam, he died in a car accident while saving me. The doctor said he had lost the will to live. Later, while sorting through his belongings, I found a diary. Inside were all the receipts from these years of Sam secretly helping his first love, but on the last page, it read, "Sarah, I hate you the most. Sarah is me." So after being reborn, the first thing I did was tear up the contract Sam had just signed. The 17-year-old boy quietly watched the fragments scatter across the floor. After a long pause, he curled the corner of his lips, his tone laced with sarcasm. "What? Has the young mistress finally realized that selling me for 10 years wasn't enough?" I wasn't fully awake yet. Destroying the contract just now was merely an instinctive reaction. 10 years isn't enough. How about 20, 30, or a lifetime? Seeing me just staring at him dumbfounded, a glimmer of understanding flashed in Sam's eyes. He picked up the pen again, unfazed, and said, "Is the new contract ready? I have to go to work this afternoon and can't be late." His expression was as calm as if he were discussing the weather. I blurted out, "There is no new contract." Only as the words left my mouth did I realize how hoarse my voice sounded. Licking my dry lips, I habitually issued the command, "Sam, I want water." During the 3 years of marriage to Sam, he took care of me with meticulous attention, but the words had barely left my mouth. When I met those dark eyes filled with hidden mockery, I suddenly remembered that the person before me wasn't the Sam from years later who had learned to pretend to be tamed by me. My throat tightened. I wanted to explain, "I'm not." "So you found a new way to tease me." Sam, however, took it in stride. He stood up to pour me some water, paused mid-action, then added some cold water. "It doesn't matter if you want to change the terms on the contract. Don't worry, I'll keep my promise to Mr. Smith." His knuckles were prominent as he gripped the glass, yet when my fingertips accidentally brushed against them, he quickly withdrew as if it were unbearable. This subtle gesture made my nose sting with emotion. The water temperature was just right. I quickly hid my reddened eyes by lowering my head to drink water. Sam is indeed a man of his word. Even when my father suddenly fell ill and Sam single-handedly supported the entire Smith family group, he never thought of taking the opportunity to break the contract. Even when that car accident happened, his first reaction was to shield me tightly beneath him. The doctor said Sam has no will to live, so this person with no will to live had long prepared a will, leaving all his property to me. Sam is good, except he doesn't love me. Fortunately, I still have a chance to start over. No new contract. I set down the water glass and repeated, "I'll never force you to sign any contract again." A moment of silence. Sam stared at me for a while, then showed an understanding expression. He took a card out of his pocket and placed it in front of me. "This was given by Mr. Smith. I haven't touched the money inside." "That's not what I meant." In my urgency, I grabbed his hand directly. "I know what this money means to Sam. A gambling father, a seriously ill grandfather, in my past life. I used these to force him into signing that 10-year indenture contract. You can take my father's money, and you can sign the contract. I mean, a normal one. My father will invest in you, and you can choose to work for the Smith family group after graduation or repay the money later. But I don't need you by my side all the time anymore, and I won't force you to like me either." My vision gradually blurred. I lowered my head, unaware that I was gripping Sam's hand tighter and tighter, until he said coldly, "Hand, huh?" Before I could react, the surprise in Sam's eyes quickly faded into silence. With a cold expression, he spoke, "What kind of act is the young mistress planning to put on this time? Or is this another attempt to sabotage my last job so I'll have to keep revolving around you?" Staring at Sam's ears, flushed red with anger, I opened my mouth, too frustrated to speak, because these were indeed things I had done before. I fell in love with Sam at first sight. So when I accidentally learned that he would apply to the same university as his childhood friend Judy, I panicked and took the initiative to use that contract to tie him to my side. I'd been domineering and possessive since I was little. I always thought that given enough time, Sam might come to like me, but then the person died, and what was written in that diary remained the same. "I hate you." I wouldn't do that. Why should I believe you? Because I don't like you anymore. As the words left her mouth, the suffocating weight in her chest seemed to lighten considerably. I forced a smile and spoke with utmost seriousness. "Sam, I won't like you anymore, nor will I force you anymore." Sam looked at me, His eyes held emotions I couldn't decipher. He didn't say another word until he left. He probably still didn't believe me. That card was left behind. After some thought, I took the card and went to find my dad. After repeatedly confirming that I wasn't actually trying to advance by retreating, my dad agreed to continue funding Sam, but he had to talk to Sam first. I breathed a sigh of relief. For the next few days, I forced myself not to go looking for Sam. The advanced class and the regular class were never on the same floor to begin with. It was normal not to run into each other all day, but to outsiders, it looked like I was deliberately avoiding Sam. Many speculated in private about what kind of act I was putting on. Even Charles couldn't resist coming to find me. Give your uncle the inside scoop. How do you plan to mess with Sam next? His eyes were gleaming with the unmistakable light of mischief. No one at school knew that, by family hierarchy, I was supposed to call Charles uncle, but since we've been kindred spirits since childhood and always played together, we never cared about such things. I rolled my eyes at him. No more nonsense. Something's off. This is really off. Charles began to look strangely uneasy. He reached out and hooked his arm around my neck, lowering his voice. Back when I mentioned Sam, your eyes would light up bright enough to be a lamp to guide my way. Why do you look so wilted now? Did that guy bully you? His tone grew fierce by the end. He didn't bully me. I just had an epiphany. I pushed Charles's hand away but keenly sensed a heavy gaze locked onto me. Looking around, I didn't notice anything unusual. What's wrong? Charles moved closer to me. He suddenly paused, rubbing the back of his head. Why do I feel a chill down my spine? Wait, what did you say about letting go? I don't like Sam anymore. Oh, don't like Sam. No, don't like him anymore. The tone suddenly rose sharply. Charles, just as I was racking my brain on how to stop Charles from making a fuss. A voice so familiar it felt ingrained in my bones came from behind. I didn't turn around, but my body stiffened instinctively. Charles leaned over my shoulder and poked his head out, grumbling, "What do you want, old man?" A cold glance swept over the hand resting on my shoulder, then quickly withdrew. Sam held a stack of homework books, expressionless. "Teacher Lisa wants you to go to her office." Charles's face instantly changed dramatically. He hastily threw out a, "Let's go home together after school tonight," before shamelessly abandoning me. Sam, however, remained standing in place without moving. His unhurried gaze settled on my face. This was our first meeting since that day. Worried that Sam might mistakenly think I still had ulterior motives, or misunderstand that I was retreating to advance, I decisively turned and walked away. Sarah, left in a hurry. I didn't catch that abruptly cut off half-syllable. His Adam's apple bobbed. Sam swallowed back the unspoken call. The gazes falling upon me grew increasingly obscure and inscrutable. I had thought this time Sam and I would gradually drift apart, yet I never expected him to agree to tutor me. His reason was quite simple. "Mr. Smith said your foundation is weak, so he's paying extra for the tutoring." Sam placed the test papers he brought on my desk and lifted his eyelids slightly. "Didn't you say you wouldn't like me anymore and were planning to study seriously?" I was left speechless, getting a bit flustered. "Then why are you the one tutoring me?" I had clearly put in so much effort to force myself to adapt to life without Sam. "I'm really short on money, compared to other jobs. Tutoring you lets me review the material again." Sam looked at me calmly. "Mr. Smith mentioned he'd hired tutors for you before, but you didn't like any of them. If my tutoring isn't effective, or if you truly can't accept me as your tutor, he'll fire me just the same." The moment these words were spoken, I instantly deflated like a balloon. I knew Sam had been working part-time jobs outside of school, spinning non-stop like a top. After once catching him fainting from exhaustion due to anemia, I forcefully sabotaged several of his jobs. In my previous life, I also asked Sam to tutor me, but he refused without hesitation. Now he agreed. Is it really because my affection is a burden to him? My heart ached habitually, then finally settled into calm. I pulled out the chair and deliberately sat farther away from Sam, muffled and sullen. "Let's get started then. First, take a diagnostic test." Sam pushed the test paper toward me, his voice a few decibels lower than usual. I stopped talking and buried myself in the test. The room fell silent all at once. Only the faint sound of breathing remained. I forced myself to calm down, until Sam stood behind me. The clean, almost sharp scent of soap instantly filled my nostrils, then enveloped me. My hand gripping the pen stiffened, uncontrollably recalling my past life. After marriage, Sam remained consistently indifferent toward me. Only during moments of intimacy would he display rare ferocity. Warm breaths brushed against the side of my neck. He nibbled on that tender flesh with meticulous care, yet reached out to cover my eyes. Thus, from beginning to end, I never saw Sam's face. Looking back now, it must have been because he didn't want to see me, distracted by these thoughts. I unconsciously bit down on the pen again. A hand suddenly appeared in my field of vision, its wrist bone protruding. Sam knocked on the desk, expressionless. Fill in the blank answer D. I lowered my head in shame and corrected it. Fortunately, I managed to complete the test paper, albeit stumbling and guessing my way through. Then, with a heavy heart, I handed over the paper. Sam glanced at it. His brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. I guiltily turned my head away. Just then, my phone vibrated. Sam was bent over grading papers. I glanced at it and secretly opened WeChat with my back turned. It's Charles who sent the message. He cheerfully said he had already taken care of things for me. He asked if I had thought of what to give him as a thank you gift. Me, what thank you gift? What exactly did you take care of for me, Charles? What kind of mischief have you gotten into again? My heart skipped a beat. I suddenly remembered what happened a few days ago. Charles never believed that I no longer liked Sam. I didn't explain much, just thought time would eventually prove it, but in reality, when I saw Judy walking beside Sam with a shy smile, I couldn't help but lose myself in thought. I knew Judy was different to Sam. He enjoys peace and quiet, yet he can tolerate Judy chattering non-stop in his ear. His only friend at school is Judy. They've agreed to attend the same university together, but I still went to any lengths to take Sam away. Perhaps she had said something interesting. Judy tugged lightly at Sam's sleeve, as if acting coquettishly, yet she froze abruptly upon seeing me. She paled and hid behind Sam, looking at Judy, who appeared as delicate as a little white flower before me. I inexplicably recalled events from my past life. On the day of Sam's funeral, Judy brought people to cause a scene, with tears streaming down her face. She accused me of being the true culprit behind Sam's death. Taking advantage of her identity as the scattered white moonlight, she incited online harassment, attempting to force me to relinquish Sam's inheritance. In the end, it was the substantial IOUs hidden in Sam's diary that I produced, which exposed Judy's hypocritical true nature. For the past 6 months, she had been constantly asking Sam for money. Judy was not as innocent as she appeared. Realizing this, I instinctively furrowed my brows and couldn't help but take a few steps forward. "Do you need something?" A cold, distant voice snapped me back to my senses. Sam looked at me calmly. He glanced at Charles beside me, then subtly positioned himself in front of Judy. I opened my mouth, but after a long pause, only managed to murmur, "It's nothing." It suddenly dawned on me that Sam wouldn't believe my words, especially since Judy was his unattainable white moonlight. This realization made a certain part of my heart ache intensely. I didn't even notice when the person in front of me had left. At that moment, Charles nudged my shoulder and winked at me. "Don't worry, niece, your uncle will definitely help you." He patted his chest and vowed solemnly. I was baffled but didn't take it to heart. Only now, looking back, that sense of unease grows stronger and stronger. Charles sent another voice message. I was just about to convert it to text, when suddenly Sam's voice came from behind. "What are you doing?" I was startled and fumbled to turn off my phone, but accidentally hit play instead. The next second, an exaggerated voice exploded in the silent study. "Do you know who I saw, Judy? She was actually working there too. But don't worry, I've already had the store fire Sam, cutting off all possibilities of him contacting Judy. From now on, he'll have no choice but to revolve around you." The phone was gently taken away. Sam lowered his eyes, his expression unreadable. I could only listen with a heart as dead as ashes to Charles's triumphant, lingering tone echoing around. I tried to explain again. I didn't ask him to do this, but my voice grew fainter and fainter. The room finally fell into complete silence. "This is what you call." The phone was placed on the table with a slight clink. Sam took half a step back and said softly, "Will you never force me again?" The tone was ambiguous. I knew he had misunderstood again, so I took a deep breath and met his gaze openly. Believe it or not, I truly didn't ask Charles to do these things. On the contrary, had I known in advance, I would have stopped him by any means necessary. dark lashes lowered over his eyes. Sam remained silent, until I spoke again. He must have misunderstood something, but regardless, Charles did these things because of me, so I apologize on his behalf. As for the losses you've suffered, I can also compensate. Are you taking his place? A ripple of emotion stirred in those calm, well-like eyes. Sam smirked. Miss Smith is quite the righteous one. I froze. After 3 years of marriage, I've come to recognize this as a sign of his anger. I was just about to say something, but Sam averted his gaze first. He retreated to his original position and picked up the half-graded test paper. Your foundation is indeed somewhat weak. So let's start with the very basics. I furrowed my brows. Aren't we discussing what Charles did? Tutoring is charged by the hour. We've already wasted 7 minutes. I'll make up for it after we finish, or I can refund that portion of the fee. Sam remained as indifferent and businesslike as ever. Since I've accepted Mr. Smith's money, this is my job. Rest assured, I won't bring any personal emotions into my work. Nor am I. He paused, his eyes dimming for a moment. The kind of person who gives up halfway. The voice was very soft. A sudden knock on the door drowned out the latter half of his sentence. It was the housekeeper bringing fruit. I took the fruit plate, closed the door, and tilted my head to ask, "What did you just say?" "Nothing." Sam quickly returned to normal. He opened the textbook without looking up. "Let's continue." As Sam said, he was indeed very serious about completing this work, and I also faithfully kept the promise I made back then. Apart from studying, there was no communication between us. Occasionally when we ran into each other at school, we would just pass by without a word, deliberately avoiding even eye contact. I had just breathed a sigh of relief, until my desk mate, the student council president, reminded me about my student council duty. "This time it's your turn to be on duty in the office with Sam." Nancy pushed her slipping glasses back up and added, "Don't forget to clean up." My face stiffened. Only then did I remember that in order to get Nancy to agree to pull some strings and schedule Sam and me for the same shift, I had promised her I'd thoroughly clean the office, but now the situation was a bit awkward. Those people are incredibly lazy. They've barely cleaned anything beyond their desks. Go for it. I believe in you. I'm sure you can restore my office to its pristine condition. Nancy patted my shoulder expressionlessly as a gesture of encouragement. Then she grabbed a competition book and went off to discuss and study with someone. At this hour, I couldn't find anyone else to cover my shift. I had no choice but to resign myself and pack up my bag. Unexpectedly, when I rushed to the office, Sam was already there, holding a rag in his hand. He was wiping the windows with his back turned to me. As he raised his hand, the hem of his faded school uniform lifted slightly. His shoulder blades protruded sharply beneath the thin fabric. For a moment, my mind wandered. In a daze, the slender boy before me seemed to merge once more with the figure from my memories. Sam doesn't like having outsiders at home, so the housekeeper comes once a week for a thorough cleaning. On weekdays, Sam handles almost all the cleaning and cooking by himself. I tried to help, thinking it might be a chance to grow closer. Sam was always silent while working. I would cheerfully say 10 sentences, and he would only occasionally respond with one. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore and didn't even bother going back to that house. Until Sam passed away, I went back to pack up the belongings and found that diary in the study again. The diary was filled with so many entries. I paused, suddenly realizing something was wrong. Sam's diary was clearly filled to the brim. But why do I only remember that one line? "I hate you the most." I feel like I've forgotten something. "The key to the equipment room is..." The words trailed off mid-sentence. Sam instinctively moved toward me, only to stop abruptly a few steps away. He lowered his head, his voice tinged with a hint of urgency. "You don't look well. Are you feeling unwell?" Belatedly, I realized my palms were slick with cold sweat. "It's nothing." I shook my head and walked straight past Sam to grab the broom. But Sam had already cleaned the office pretty thoroughly. Unable to find anything to do for the moment, I stood there somewhat awkwardly. "The key to the equipment room is in the second drawer on the left. After you check it, organize the class meeting records. The inspection is during the third period of evening self-study." I breathed a sigh of relief and said okay. There wasn't much to do. I quickly finished my work, took out a book, and started reviewing, until a cup of hot water appeared in my line of sight. "There's still a piece of milk candy." Sam sat down across from me. He lowered his head to write on the test paper. And when his glasses slid slightly down, they revealed his attractive brow bone. The office was left with only the rustling sound of pages being turned. Actually, it was the same kind of alone time when Sam tutored me, but perhaps because I thought of things from my past life, I found this silence somewhat unbearable, so I made an excuse to go to the bathroom. "Sarah," Sam suddenly called out to me. He glanced at the untouched water and sugar on the table, his brows furrowing and then relaxing. Finally, as if having made up his mind, he said in a low voice, "I have something to tell you, let's talk about it when I get back." Sam paused. "All right." I seized the opportunity to slip away. While getting some fresh air outside, I couldn't help but think about that notebook whose contents I'd mostly forgotten, but since it's already forgotten, it probably wasn't that important, right? I tried to console myself randomly. As I turned my head, I noticed a somewhat familiar female classmate. She seemed to be from the publicity department and also had some interest in Sam. I don't really feel like going back, so I made up an excuse about having something to do and swapped cleaning duties with that female classmate. "But my school bag is still there, don't worry, I'll pack it up and bring it out for you. Looks like you're really looking forward to being alone with Sam." I said my thanks. When the female classmate came out with my backpack, only then did I remember that Sam had mentioned earlier he wanted to tell me something, and I couldn't help but ask, "Is Sam not angry?" "No," she said, as if eager to return, turning her head and walking away. "I told him you had something to attend to and left first." He just nodded and went back to his test paper. As expected, Sam doesn't care at all whether I stay or go. If there's anything to say, it probably isn't that important anyway. I can't quite describe what I'm feeling. I just said, "Oh," picked up my bag, and went back to the classroom. Nancy looked surprised when she saw me, but she didn't say much, patrolling during the third evening self-study session. As I was organizing my incorrect answers, I faintly sensed a heavy gaze resting upon me. I instinctively looked up. Sam stood at the doorway. His dark eyes stared straight at me, but soon he averted his gaze, lowering his head to write something in his notebook, probably checking if I'd skipped evening self-study, I guessed, then went back to organizing my mistake notes. 2 weeks later, almost everyone knew I had given up pursuing Sam. Charles muttered that I had finally changed my ways. He even patted his chest and promised to introduce me to someone 1,000 times better than Sam. But before he could take any action, he decided to cut ties with me first, because after the latest monthly exam results came out, I scored over 100 points higher than this person. Charles looked at my test paper as if he'd seen a ghost. After a long pause, he let out a whimper. "Niece, how could you abandon your uncle too?" Looking at Charles's teary eyes that resembled poached eggs, I patted his shoulder and spoke earnestly. "If you don't work harder, Nancy will look down on you even more in the future." It was only much later that I found out Charles had been secretly in love with Nancy all along. At these words, Charles immediately wiped away his tears and stubbornly retorted, "Who would like her anyway?" But it wasn't long before the man suddenly pulled out a small mirror to look at himself, then turned to me with some uncertainty and asked, "Your uncle, am I really that terrible?" I didn't say anything, just had Nancy send over her grades. Charles was completely deflated after seeing his grades. Then he suddenly got all pumped up and said he was going to start studying seriously. At least he finally stopped pestering me about why I suddenly stopped liking Sam. I breathed a sigh of relief. Little did I expect Judy would come looking for me the very next day. The intention was downright absurd. She asked me to make up with Sam. "What are you talking about?" I even doubted my own ears. "I know you still have feelings for Kiyono deep down," Judy said with conviction. "Otherwise, you wouldn't have let Charles ruin his job. Now that Kiyono has lost his job, he can only rely on you even more." Rely, the word Judy used made me frown uncomfortably in an instant, but I didn't respond. Judy, however, took my silence as agreement with her words. She gritted her teeth, then deliberately feigned hurt as she dropped a bombshell. Actually, Kiyono only sees me as a little sister. You might not know this, but I used to have an older brother. He died saving Sam, and Kiyono promised him he'd take good care of me. But I know Kiyono, I'm not interested in your relationship." I suppressed my shock and pretended to be impatient, interrupting Judy's words. I sneered again. "Sam always wears that stern face. Why would I be so desperate to hang myself on his crooked tree? Besides, I've already said it. I genuinely don't like Sam anymore." The approaching footsteps halted. Judy's expression shifted repeatedly. The next second, she tripped and fell down the stairs right in front of me. That fall was pretty bad. I clearly saw Judy's expression twist in an instant, and Sam just happened to show up. Brother Sam. Judy's eyes turned red, her voice choked with tears. It's not Sarah's fault. I accidentally fell. I couldn't be bothered with Judy's clumsy acting. I just looked at Sam. After that day on duty, I never saw Sam at school again except for makeup classes. How much did he see? How much of what was just said did he hear? He apologized. The cold voice was as sharp as a knife. I couldn't quite believe it. An apology. A flash of triumph quickly passed through Judy's eyes, yet she still had to say, "This matter really has nothing to do with Sarah. Sam, you don't need to force her to apologize to me for my sake." Hearing this, I could barely contain the fury in my chest. All the distrust I faced after rebirth, the guilt I wanted to make up for, the constant fear and anxiety, everything erupted at this moment. Why should I always be the one to compromise? I laughed in anger. Sam, are you out of your mind? Why should I? I was about to go downstairs and just confirm the accusation, but all my fury was instantly extinguished by Sam's next words. Apologize to Sarah, apologize to me. I froze. Now it was Judy's turn to be incredulous. Me, apologize. Brother Sam, what are you talking about? She anxiously tried to grab Sam's hand. It was clearly Sarah who got angry and pushed me. Why are you asking me to? I'm not a fool. Sam sidestepped to avoid her, his voice low and icy. Each word carried an undeniable force of control. She's not foolish enough to make a move on you in a crowded place. Judy, this isn't the first time. The last sentence was tinged with unmistakable disappointment. Judy fell silent. She lowered her head, her disheveled hair obscuring the inscrutable expression on her face. Sam, do you believe me? Another stretch of silence followed. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt, until Sam spoke again. She slandered you because of me. I apologize on her behalf. What right do you have to apologize for her? The words slipped out almost instinctively. No sooner had the words left my mouth than I faintly sensed a strange familiarity in this conversation. A glimmer of amusement flickered in Sam's eyes, but it was quickly swallowed by darkness. He bent down to help Judy up, only to have his hand sharply brushed away. Finally, Judy limped forward. Sam followed silently behind. I watched them leave, thinking about what Judy had just said. I used to have a brother. He died saving Sam. Kiyono promised him he would take good care of me. I never knew about these things, not even in my past life. For some reason, those large denomination IOUs tucked inside the diary suddenly surfaced in my mind. My chest felt heavy, as if weighed down by a large stone. Then came an inexplicable panic. Charles. Just then, Charles came to find me. I grabbed him firmly, my tone urgent. Help me with something. I had to find out why Judy came to persuade us to reconcile. Charles has strong connections, and his circle of friends is absurdly wide. He agreed immediately. I originally thought investigating this matter would take some time, but unexpectedly, Judy couldn't wait and revealed her true colors. On Saturday afternoon, when Charles came to see me, his face was terrifyingly gloomy. He almost threw the voice recorder onto my desk as if it were something dirty. After a long while, he finally gritted his teeth and forced out a sentence. I really want to call the police. After a burst of static, Judy's impatient voice came through. How was I supposed to know they'd suddenly break up? That Sarah used to pursue Sam so openly, getting jealous every time I got close to him. I really thought she was head over heels. Turns out, these rich people are all about novelty. One day they're in love, the next they're not, and now my whole plan is ruined. And that useless Sam, I thought he could string that spoiled rich girl along a bit longer, maybe even squeeze some more money out of her. But now, not only did he fail to get the money, he even lost his job, too proud to ask for compensation. What about me? I still want that new designer bag. You think Sam won't pay? No way. As long as he's still carrying the weight of my brother's death, he'll never dare refuse me money. That idiot Sam still thinks he owes our family. Don't worry. I'll definitely find a way to make him cough up the cash. I couldn't bear to listen any longer, trembling with anger all over. Charles said that the money Sam earned from working was mainly used for three purposes. One part was to pay off debts, Another part was to cover his grandfather's medical expenses in advance. There was another portion that was given to Judy. As for what he used on himself, it was minimal. I heard from his classmates that Sam has been borrowing psychology books from the library recently. If it were me, I'd probably get depressed. Charles suddenly shut his mouth and asked me, what should we do now? I don't know what to do either. Sam never says anything. He keeps everything tightly hidden, apart from the subsidies and the money earned from part-time jobs. He refused to take any extra money from others. This person has always been proud by nature, hiding all emotions and unwilling to show even a hint of them, too proud to admit the truth and suffering for it. I thought resentfully, and finally had to say, I'll give him this voice recorder. However, the last few words Judy said did make me somewhat wary. I'll go investigate the cause of Judy's brother's death again. Uncle, I'll have to trouble you to ask around more for me. All right, leave it to me. I originally planned to give Sam the voice recorder when he came for tutoring. The butler said Sam had taken leave. Taken leave? Yes, said he wasn't feeling well. I had no choice but to suppress my impatience. Unexpectedly, Sam's leave turned into a complete disappearance for several days. The phone calls wouldn't go through either. I started feeling restless. After getting Sam's home address from the teacher, I decided to visit after evening self-study. Nancy came over with a stack of notebooks. What's this? These are Sam's organized notes. He said he's sorry for breaking the promise and asked me to give these to you. They contain content targeting your weak areas. I didn't catch the latter part of the sentence. Only urgently asking, you saw Sam, where is he? He left the things with me and then went away. I don't know where he is now either. Hearing this, I felt somewhat disappointed. Nancy, however, stared at me for a long while before adding, to be honest, even if no one else believes in it, I've always thought the two of you would end up together. All movement suddenly came to a halt. I looked up, somewhat dazed. What do you mean? Nancy rested her chin on her hand and gazed out the window. When you first transferred here in your first year of high school, you didn't know any of your classmates and had no idea how to make friends. Half a semester passed, and you were still always alone. You later said you were really grateful that I stepped up and offered to be your desk mate, but the truth is, Sam specifically came over with his notes to bribe me. Bribe you? She nodded. Surprising, right? Sam and I were actually classmates in elementary and middle school. But we were never close, to be precise. Sam wasn't close to anyone, but that day, he came to me and asked me to be your desk mate. I asked him why. He said, no one wants to be the one who stands out alone. Nancy paused, then smiled again. I know he was talking about himself. But Sarah, Sam is different from you. He didn't have a choice. And that time during the social practice when you accidentally lost your pen, actually, it wasn't me who found it. It was Sam who searched inch by inch with a flashlight at night and almost got caught by the patrolling teacher. There are quite a few things like this that he never wanted to mention. Nancy's words hit like a stone thrown into still water. It left me stunned for a long moment, and I could only murmur, I had no idea. Of course you didn't, Nancy retorted bluntly. Sam never speaks up, and he wouldn't let me tell you either. Naturally, you wouldn't know anything. Then why wouldn't he tell me? I stubbornly wanted an answer, but Nancy said, Sarah, not all affections get the chance to be spoken aloud. Sam is accustomed to suppressing, to enduring this utterly miserable life. He has walked this path alone for so long that when someone suddenly appears out of nowhere and says they want to accompany him further, it takes him a very, very long time to convince himself to accept it. He is also used to hiding his feelings, having known Sam for so long. I rarely see any rich expressions on his face, but Sarah, she seemed to recall something amusing, her eyes narrowing mischievously. During the sports meet when you fell while running, I saw Sam jump straight down from the stands, but halfway there, he saw Charles carrying you to the infirmary, so he had to pretend he was just passing by. It was the first time I saw Sam look so flustered and at a loss, and he forbade me from telling anyone. That was a side of Sam I had never known before. He really hid it well. I always felt like Sam really disliked me. My throat suddenly tightened, and I asked hoarsely, then why are you telling me now? I got early admission, so even if Sam wants to blame someone, there's no one left to blame. Nancy reached out and ruffled my hair, suddenly softening her voice. Besides, keeping everything from you isn't fair. Not to you, and not to him either. Nancy said Sam wasn't always this withdrawn. It started after his mother passed away. She thought for a moment and finally said, "It seems he feels he's had bad luck in life, bad luck in life." These three words kept swirling in my mind, until I stood at the door of the hospital room. Sam seems to have lost weight again. He efficiently changed his grandfather's soiled clothes and emptied the bedpan. After everything was tidied up, Sam sat down to eat the now cold porridge, but he hadn't even taken a few sips. The previously quiet old man suddenly lashed out, knocking the bowl from his hand. Then, as Sam stood up to clean the mess, the old man abruptly grabbed his arm and bit down hard, so hard that blood immediately seeped from the wound. His exposed forearm was covered with scabbed wounds. Yet Sam just stood there without even furrowing his brow, as if it were already a familiar sight. I quickly called a nurse to intervene and pulled Sam away from the hospital bed. The nurse didn't seem surprised either. "When your grandson gets fed up and leaves, and no one's left to take care of you, then you'll be happy, won't you? Good riddance." Sam's grandfather drooped his eyelids and said sarcastically, "Just seeing him around irritates me. Porridge. He doesn't deserve even a fart to eat." Another round of foul-mouthed insults ensued. It wasn't until the nurse threatened to kick him out for disturbing other patients that the old man finally shut up, yet he continued to glare fiercely at Sam. Throughout the entire ordeal, Sam stood there in silence, like a lifeless sculpture. It wasn't until I was about to take him for medical treatment that he seemed to snap out of it. His eyelashes fluttered slightly. He asked me, "How did you get here? If I didn't come, you would have died." I was both angry and anxious. In his previous life, Sam's grandfather passed away early. Sam also didn't stay in the hospital for such a long time to take care of him, so I had no idea his grandfather would treat him so harshly. "Won't die." Sam even managed to curl his lips into a faint smile. "He can't torture me to death. You know he's tormenting you, yet you still stay to take care of him. Sam, are you out of your damn mind?" Sam fell silent. After the wound on his arm was treated, he told me to go back. I might have to break my promise to Mr. Smith. I'll return the money. The key review materials are all organized in those notes. Remember to check them, and if there's anything you don't understand, you can ask Nancy. The pale fluorescent light in the hallway cast a glow on Sam's face. Not a single ray of light reached his eyes. His tone was eerily calm, so calm that my panic grew uncontrollably, and I grabbed his hand without thinking. "What about you? It's already your senior year. Don't you need to study? Don't you want to go to college?" "Me?" Sam was taken aback, as if only now remembering to consider himself. He said slowly, "I could stay at the hospital." "You're lying to me again," I interrupted Sam's words, trying to forcefully take him away. "That old man would never give you time to study. He just wants to torment you and takes pleasure in seeing you suffer. Come with me, right now. If you're really worried, I'll pay for a caregiver for him." But I couldn't pull him away. Sam lowered his eyes, his gaze falling on our clasped hands. "Sarah," he called my name softly, his voice seeming to come from a faraway place. That was my grandfather, a calm narration, yet I understood the unspoken meaning behind his words. That was his only family left. My mother passed away, and my gambling-addicted father was nowhere to be seen, leaving behind debts. He was the only family I had left. Ever since I was a child, I've never had much luck. No matter what I do, it always seems to fall just short. Whatever I want or hope for never seems to come true. The warmth I held onto slowly faded away. Sam pushed me away, his tone still gentle. "So you should stay away from me, farther away, even farther, preferably never have anything to do with me again." Yet his voice was trembling, uncontrollably shaking, so obvious that even I had noticed. So the bitter tide in my chest surged and roared incessantly. I looked at Sam. Suddenly, I remembered what Nancy had said. "It's like he thinks he's cursed with bad luck. Fuck fate." Judy had once come to the hospital under the pretense of visiting. Not long after, the previous caregiver was driven away. Sam was forcibly kept to serve. This was something that didn't happen in the previous life, so it's related to me. The other patients in the ward and their family members all witnessed Grandpa Sam's atrocious behavior. When I passed by, an elderly woman even grabbed my arm and said, "Girl, you're classmates with that young man, aren't you? Go talk some sense into him. How can a student not stay in school to study? And he shouldn't stay to take care of this old man either. He's just a viper. When he's unhappy, He won't let the younger generation be happy either. Taking care of him won't do any good. I nodded and said okay. The next day, I had him transferred to a private room. When the old man suddenly stood up again and started yelling in Sam's face. I had the bodyguard take over Sam's tasks and then had someone forcibly escort him away. These are the test papers and review questions Teacher Song asked me to bring you. She said it's fine if you don't come, but these must be completed. Sam's struggling gradually subsided. Sam, I stared into his eyes. If you want to rot in this hospital, just say the word. If you say no even once, I won't stop you anymore. Sam lowered his head. I couldn't make out the expression on his face. You clearly. After a long pause, his voice hoarse and laced with self-abandonment, you clearly said you wouldn't like me anymore. I'm speaking as a friend now, whether you admit it or not. As I spoke, I lowered my head and started working on the test paper. Sam stood there for a while. In the end, he sat down across from me. The old man wasn't without thoughts of causing trouble to disturb Sam's studies, but the moment he made the slightest noise, the bodyguard standing nearby would immediately glare back fiercely. Being a bully who fears the strong, he gave up after a few attempts. Sam smoothly completed a set of exam papers. The frown between his brows softened slightly. I'll help you take these to Teacher Song for review. I collected Sam's papers and added, I won't be coming over tomorrow. The hand gripping the pen suddenly tightened. Sam's breath hitched briefly but quickly returned to normal. He nodded, it's fine if you don't come. After all, this place isn't, Sam. A little honesty won't kill you. I glanced at him and snorted. If you want me to come, just say it. Perhaps it was because the most unsightly side of him had already been exposed to me. Sam simply stopped making a sound. I stared at his reddened earlobes and curled my lips slightly. Charles is coming tomorrow. He heard you're quite skilled at tutoring and is coming with that in mind. Remember to treat him well. Sam looked up, obvious astonishment flashing in his eyes. The next day it was Charles. On the third day, it was Nancy. On the fourth day, it was their class monitor. The fifth day is mine. Take turns. The bodyguard stayed in the ward, taking shifts. After more than a week, Sam successfully caught up with the review progress. The old man seemed much more dispirited. While Sam was out fetching hot water, the old man called out to me for the first time on his own, but what he said wasn't exactly pleasant. His mother died because of him. I sorted through my mistakes and ignored him. The old man wasn't angry either. He chuckled to himself and continued, if he hadn't insisted on going out to play with his friends, his mother wouldn't have died in a car accident on her way to pick him up. My son wouldn't have been so devastated that he disappeared and still hasn't come to see his old man, and I wouldn't have gotten this disease. Your son got into gambling early on and lost all the family's money. He disappeared to escape his debts. He doesn't visit you because he's unfilial, and your illness is retribution. What does any of this have to do with Sam? Without looking up, I cut him off, the pen leaving deep marks on the paper. The old man's face instantly turned ashen. What do you know, if it weren't for this jinx? But it's this so-called jinx who's paying your exorbitant medical bills every day, or you'd have been dead long ago. And it's this deserving grandson of yours, who sleeps only a few hours each night to balance taking care of you and his studies. I stood up and looked at him coldly, sneering. Didn't you want to crush him? Didn't you want Sam to rot in this hospital with you? Too bad. He's too outstanding. Even the teachers say that if he keeps up his recent exam performance, getting into a top school won't be a problem at all. You want to destroy him, but I won't let you have your way. I'll make sure you watch the person you most want to ruin become better and better, far beyond your reach. The old man's face turned livid with anger. His shriveled lips trembled, emitting a hoarse, heh-heh sound, but he couldn't form a complete sentence. I snorted and sat back down. It took quite a while before Sam returned to the ward. His face looked somewhat pale. He walked calmly to the bedside to refill the cup with water, his hands trembling faintly. I watched his back and asked, why did it take you so long to fetch water? There's no hot water left. So I waited a bit longer. I just said, oh, without giving it much thought. Sam sat down across from me. The only sound left in the ward was the rustling of paper being turned, but this tranquility was soon shattered. Well, you little brat actually have money to put this old fart in a private room. The voice was grating and shrill. A middle-aged man with a stubbly beard suddenly barged in. His murky, bloodshot eyes swept over me. He let out a malicious chuckle. So this is the rich young lady from a wealthy family that Judy mentioned. Heard the young lady has taken a fancy to my little brat. Good, good, then we'll be family from now on. Ha ha ha. I frowned deeply at his words. I've clearly never met this person before, yet I vaguely feel he looks somewhat familiar. Sam almost instantly stepped in front of me, ignoring the man. He shoved the test paper into my hands and said in a low voice, "You go back first." Meanwhile, I was still thinking about the name, Judy, that the man had mentioned. Sure enough, it's Judy again. What's the matter? What's the matter? Seeing this, Luke reached out to pull Sam away, clearly displeased, but he said, "It's rare for a classmate to want to be friends with you. What's the harm in letting the family see? Get lost." Sam stared at the man intently, word by word, "Or I'll kill you." Ha 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 ha. Luke doubled over with laughter as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He completely ignored Sam and grinned at me. "Little girl, is my son treating you well? I don't want much, just $1 million, and you can take this bastard away." Ugh, before he could finish speaking, Sam's fist had already landed hard on Luke's face. The punch was delivered with full force, sending Luke staggering back several steps, knocking over the floor stand and shattering medicine bottles across the floor. No one expected it. Sam fought as if his life depended on it. His movements were swift and ruthless, like a cornered beast pushed to the brink. The bodyguard hurried over to stop him, yet even with such a huge commotion, the old man remained lying on the hospital bed, eyes tightly shut without uttering a word, until, in the chaos, Luke, who was cursing loudly, suddenly charged toward me. A faint silver glint flashed in my hand. The man's face twisted into a ferocious grin. "If I'm suffering, you won't get off easy either." I stood frozen in place. The blade gleamed coldly under the pale light. Luke charged too fast, and the distance was too close. The bodyguard didn't react at all. Die. His face twisted as the knife tip thrust straight toward my chest. The expected pain never came. Thud, the sound of the blade piercing flesh was unmistakably clear. A warm hand suddenly covered my eyes, plunging the world into darkness. I heard Sam's breathing grow abruptly heavier beside my ear. With a muffled groan, "Don't look," he said. "Don't be afraid. Be good. Close your eyes. Just sleep it off," accompanied by the screech of sudden brakes, and the man's triumphant, maniacal laughter. Finally, all sounds faded away like the ebbing tide. The world fell into complete silence. Sam, the sense of familiarity finally found its reason. Instinctively, I grabbed Sam's arm, my entire body trembling uncontrollably from extreme fear. "You're not allowed to die. I won't let you die. Do you hear me?" The voice carried a tone of near-desperate sobs. "The patient has lost the will to live." The perpetrator was their own biological father. Who could possibly come to terms with that? Alas, every family has its own troubles. My condolences. Madam, February 15th, the cat at home is about to have kittens, and Sarah has been very nervous these past few days, preparing a lot of things in advance. I hope the delivery goes smoothly. Sarah has been paying too much attention to it lately, which has made me a bit unhappy, but I can still bear with it. February 17th. Sarah angrily asked me today if I really hated kittens. Why do I never pet them or play with them? Finally, she asked angrily why I wasn't speaking. Was I admitting it by default? But I didn't know what to say. The truth is, I really like kittens. February 20th. Sarah came home late today, and the automatic feeder was broken. The kitten kept meowing from hunger. I fed it some food. The kitten rubbed against me a few times. No wonder Sarah loves petting cats so much. February 22nd. The kitten had a difficult birth. One died. It's my fault. I wish I hadn't touched it. March 18th. Sarah got sick again. Was it because I've been clinging to her these past few days? Why can't I control myself? March 19th. Sarah's cold has gotten worse. Sam, are you trying to kill her? Stay away from her. April 5th. Judy came to see me. I knew it was coming. After all, I owe her a life. She demanded money. This isn't the end, but I left a record. This is my debt. And it has nothing to do with Sarah. April 16th. Luke appeared. He had been gone for 3 years, so why did he have to show up now? Never mind. Sarah is coming home today. I need to prepare her favorite dishes. May 16th. Sarah got drunk. She asked me if I hated her, and I said no. Then she asked why. If I didn't hate her, I had never said I liked her. I couldn't answer. May 20th, Sarah filed for divorce today. Leaving me might be for the best. I had auditory hallucinations again today. They were telling me to die, but I can't die yet. I need to check out the person Sarah found first. I'm worried about her. Sarah, 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 Sarah. I hate you the most, Sarah. Fortunately, the knife ended up stabbing Sam's shoulder. I've been staring at him ever since we left the emergency room, not blinking, afraid he might disappear the next second. Sam's entire body flushed red under my intense gaze, finally unable to bear it. He turned his face away and whispered almost pleadingly, "Stop looking." I ignored him. Sam wanted to leave, but I firmly insisted he stay in the hospital room to rest. He remained silent, then asked, "What about Luke?" "He was reported to the police and taken away. He got off easy." I coaxed Sam to rest and then threatened him, "If you don't sleep, I'll keep staring at you until you fall asleep." The person who had just calmed down instantly flushed crimson again. He sighed helplessly and finally gave in, yet his eyes remained open. His dark pupils reflected the stark white light of the hospital room, as if afraid that closing them would plunge him into a nightmare. I reach out my hand, like not long ago, like in a past life, gently covering his eyes. "Close your eyes," I command. Eyelashes brushed against the palm, leaving a ticklish sensation. Sam finally closed his eyes, yet before long, a commotion arose outside the hospital room. The person lying on the hospital bed listened quietly for a while. He asked with his eyes closed, "Did someone jump off a building?" "You always come across people who can't see a way out in hospitals." I paused, then added, "They're always strangers anyway." Sam hummed in acknowledgement and didn't press further. His breathing soon steadied. I glanced down at my phone. There was a text message just sent by the bodyguard. Bob dragged Luke and jumped off the building, so the old man's name was Bob. Long press, delete. Indeed, they are unrelated people. Originally, I was going to call the police, but the old man, who had been indifferent all along, suddenly stopped the bodyguard. After a long silence, he looked up and asked me, "Can this illness be cured?" I replied expressionlessly, "No cure. Wait to die. Then I'll trade a secret for some time with my son." He let out a sigh, as if relieved of a heavy burden, and said calmly, "Just half an hour. After that, you can have him." Why should I agree to this? His father always cursed him as a jinx, saying he brought death to his grandmother soon after birth. Later, he blamed him for his mother's death too, but in truth, his mother's death had nothing to do with him. I agreed, gave Bob half an hour. He took Luke to the rooftop, saying the father and son needed to talk privately. The bodyguards were waiting right outside the door. In the end, Bob jumped off the building with Luke. Not a single one survived, however. This matter couldn't be kept from Sam for long. One afternoon, he wasn't in the ward. I found him on the rooftop. Sam stood at the edge of the railing, his thin hospital gown fluttering loudly in the wind. "Did they jump from here?" Without turning around, he muttered to himself, "What a pity I didn't see it. They got off too easy." "Sam," I called to him, "come here." Sam obediently walked over as told. I gripped his hand tightly, so hard that it hurt, but Sam just laughed. He reassured me softly. "I won't jump. I haven't even gotten into college yet." I was so scared that I momentarily lost my voice. I could only vent by grabbing his hand and biting it hard, gently. Sam touched my hair with his other hand, but withdrew it immediately. He coaxed me with a smile. "It hurts," so the force suddenly lessened, but I still didn't let go. Sam indulged my mischief. The smile on his face gradually faded away. He seemed to be staring blankly at some point in the void. After a long while, he whispered softly, "Sarah, I have no family left." The voice was so soft that it was shattered by the wind on the rooftop the moment it was spoken. "I know none of them liked me. When the neighbor's kid came in third place, their family would happily take them out for good food and fun. But no matter how many times I came home with first place, Luke would sneer and say, 'What's the fucking use of doing so well? Still just a gambler's rotten seed.' Later, he even doubted I was his own. He suspected my mom had cheated, saying there was no way anyone from our family could be good at school. Why was I so smart? So he'd drink, and after drinking, he'd start hitting me, hitting my mom, and then he'd cry and apologize. But my mom was good to me. She'd make all kinds of delicious food and carefully piece together the torn-up award certificates, saying that once I got into college, she could finally live a good life with me. This time, Sam paused for a long while. He seemed to be mentally preparing himself. Then, little by little, he tore open the long scabbed wound anew, displaying it before me, raw and bleeding. I actually always obeyed. I knew I wasn't liked in that household, so I never asked for much. That time I won first place in a competition. Luke wasn't home, and my mom asked what reward I wanted. I said a friend had invited me to hang out, and asked if I could go with him. He was someone I met during the competition. My first real friend. Sam's voice suddenly became unusually strained, yet he continued narrating calmly. My mom agreed. She told me to have fun, but then got into a car accident on her way to pick me up. She died. Maybe I really am destined to be a lone star of calamity. Those who are kind to me don't live long. Judy's brother too. If it weren't for saving me, he wouldn't have died. You're not. I finally found my voice again. Holding Sam's face in both hands, I forced him to meet my gaze. I treat you well, but I'm living just fine now, and I'll definitely live to 100 in the future. Your mother didn't die because she went to pick you up. That day, she was trying to abandon you and escape from that home. She had packed all her things, but she got into a car accident on the way. Sam, listen clearly. Her death had nothing to do with you. Sam's pupils contracted violently. He seemed to have heard something utterly absurd and couldn't process it for a long moment. Then his breathing became rapid. Lucia didn't die to save you. He deliberately took you to the river. He knew you couldn't swim, so he planned to pretend to rescue you to make you remember his favor, because he owed a huge debt. He intended to have you help him repay it. I took out 2 voice recorders. One was Bob's, and the other was Judy's. Sam calmed down. He turned on the recorder and listened to it over and over again, until the last bit of battery was drained. I stayed by Sam's side, listening with him again and again. Sarah, the voice recorder was stuffed into a pocket. He suddenly called out to me, asking blankly, how can someone's life be so ridiculously pathetic? Just an offhand question. Perhaps there was no answer to be found. Fate can be such an asshole sometimes. But after a moment of serious thought, I added, yet it doesn't define who you are, so you're free to rebel against it as much as you want. It really is quite the asshole. Sam chuckled softly. My laughter grew louder and louder. It finally turned into heart-wrenching dry heaving. He hunched over as if trying to vomit out all his internal organs. As dusk fell, the last ray of sunset gilded his profile in gold. Sam. My mom ran away too. I tilted my head back and watched the sunset with him. She didn't love my dad or me, so she left me with my dad early on and walked away alone. But I'm luckier than you. My dad loved me very much. He was just too busy and a bit clumsy, so from childhood, his way of loving me was to give me everything he had without holding back, sometimes without even asking if I wanted it or was willing to accept it. I got used to it and learned to treat the people I liked the same way. It might be a bit annoying, but until you learn to be brave, you'll just have to bear with it. Sam stayed silent, until I got impatient and stood up, reaching out my hand again. The fish soup I brought has gone cold. I'm hungry. Are you coming down to eat? He looked up at me. Fine, don't eat then. I made a move to withdraw my hand, only to have it grabbed the next second. At first, fingertips tentatively touched, then little by little, they clasped tightly. I waited patiently. Okay. Not knowing which words to respond to, Sam lowered his gaze, the tips of his ears turning red. He murmured, I'm hungry, then go eat. Nothing matters more than a good meal. Okay. Sam is a very strong person, I've always known that. Regarding Judy's matter, Sam didn't let me continue to intervene. I only know he got most of his money back. Judy dropped out of school. Later, Charles told me that Judy had somehow offended a group of thugs, after having her arms and legs broken. She was taken back to her hometown by her mother. He sighed, evil people will always meet their match. My buddy's revenge is finally served. Since Sam helped Charles improve his score by 50 points during their review sessions, Charles completely changed his view of Sam. From then on, he firmly believed this was his sworn brother from another mother and father. He also came to see his brother as a pitiful soul with a tragic past and a simple, innocent mind. No one is allowed to speak ill of others. I glanced at Charles, too embarrassed to say that it was almost certainly his good friend who did it. Sam returned to school. His study progress hasn't fallen behind at all. Sam even snatched the top spot in their grade from Nancy several times, no longer needing to work part-time. This left Nancy giving him the cold shoulder for quite a while. Everything went smoothly until the college entrance exam results came out. Charles finally managed to get into a university in the same city as Nancy. He was so excited that he hugged Sam and cried for a long time. The three of them were in the same city, while I went abroad as arranged by my father. After my mother left, my father always felt that he had let me down, so he became particularly indulgent towards me. After learning that I was almost injured because of Sam, he's always held a grudge against Sam. He even arranged everything for me well in advance. I didn't refuse. Because that was also one of the regrets from my past life. On the day I left, even Nancy, who was in City A, came back to see me off. Charles, with tears in his eyes, grabbed my hand, wanting to say a few more words, but was yanked away by Nancy pulling his collar. I thought you'd be the one talking the most today. I deliberately feigned dissatisfaction, frowning and shaking my head. Sam, I'm very disappointed in you. Sam was amused by my antics, unlike in my previous life. He seems to smile easily in front of me in this lifetime. As an apology, I'll tell you a secret. What secret? I was instantly intrigued. One day during the summer vacation of my sophomore year, I suddenly wanted to see you. How badly? So much that I asked Nancy to take me into the villa area and waited outside your gate for a chance to meet you. But you were on vacation abroad at the time. Nancy asked me, still want to see him. Sam paused, his brows furrowing with a hint of helplessness. How could I see you? I had just paid off a bit of debt back then, and all the money I had wasn't even enough to buy a plane ticket to go back. At that moment, I knew, I was too far from you, so far that even if I gave it my all in this lifetime, I might never catch up. This was indeed a secret I hadn't known. The boarding announcement sounded, I'm leaving for abroad now, and I don't know when I'll be back. Taking a deep breath, the sound of a heartbeat gradually quickens. I stared at Sam and asked him seriously, will you save up enough for a plane ticket in the future? While waiting, the noisy voices of people in the airport seemed to fade away at that moment, and this time, I finally received Sam's answer. He said, not just one, Sarah, I like you, the kind of like that means I like you the most. Love glimpsed from the pages of a diary. Finally, at this moment, see the light of day. Sam's side story. The first thing Sam did after returning home was to start cooking. The second thing is to clean up. Finally, sit on the sofa and quietly wait for Sarah to come home. The wait lasts until nightfall, probably not coming back again. Sam thought, no one could be blamed for this, no one else could stand living with someone like him. Sarah was already being very kind. He sighed and stood up, intending to clear the dishes from the table, but just as he moved, the sound of the door lock turning echoed. Sam's eyes instantly lit up. It was Sarah. But Sarah is acting so strange today. Her face is pale, and her eyes are red. Was she bullied? Sam frowned. He instinctively stepped forward to ask, but Sarah simply passed right through his body and headed toward the study. Passed through his body. Sam froze. It took a long while before it finally dawned on me. Oh, so I'm already dead. This experience of being in a soul state after death is quite novel. But soon, Sam's thoughts were filled with nothing but Sarah again. Did Sarah cry because of him? Sam was a bit curious, so he followed her. Then he witnessed the embarrassing moment when Sarah opened his diary. Sam's entire soul blushed from head to toe. If asked what I regret the most, Sam would undoubtedly answer without hesitation now, not burning that diary. Sarah, stop looking. But Sarah didn't stop. Instead, she went through each page with utmost seriousness. Tears began to roll down her cheeks one by one. Sam, instantly forgetting his shyness, fumbled in a fluster to wipe Sarah's tears away. His voice even carried a hint of pleading. Sarah, please stop crying. Okay, but he had forgotten. He was already dead. So those tears passed through his palm, drop by drop, soaking into the paper. Sarah couldn't hear his voice either, so she kept crying. When she got tired from crying, she hugged her diary and sat in the corner of the study, softly asking, why do you hate me the most, Sam? She saw the last page, because I couldn't hear. So this time, Sam answered Sarah's words with utmost seriousness, because I love you the most. but it seems that those he likes, and those who like him, all come to no good end. Then let's switch to hate, Sam originally thought, since death is death. Then take this chance to say all the words left unspoken over the years, but he worried, what if his fate was so ill-fated that it would even affect his soul's state, so he dared say, I love you, only once. Even his embrace was just a tentative, fleeting hold, afraid that Sarah might be tainted by bad luck. They say the three great joys in life are promotion, wealth, and the death of a husband. Sam looked down at Sarah, who was already fast asleep, and whispered earnestly, You've already achieved two of them, so don't be sad anymore. But Sarah wouldn't listen at all. She stubbornly insisted on knowing the whole truth. Sam had no choice but to follow her helplessly. Then he watched as she gradually fell silent after learning everything, heartbroken yet powerless. He's lying, actually. Things weren't that bad for me back then. Don't listen to this doctor's nonsense. My condition isn't that serious. Doctors always exaggerate illnesses. She was never my white moonlight. I've already paid all the debts I owed. Sarah, you should throw the receipts right in her face. During that period, Sam spoke more words than he had in his entire lifetime, as if repaying a debt from when Sarah had scolded him for being a dull gourd. Now he was settling that debt. But Sarah, the creditor, couldn't hear or see it. She continued doing whatever she wanted. Then on an ordinary afternoon, Sarah avenged Sam. Let's start over, Sam heard himself say. Though he didn't know who he was speaking to, start over, and don't come near me again, don't like me anymore, don't have anything to do with me again. She just needs to remember that I hate her the most. I hate Sarah the most. Sam, I love her, but she doesn't need to know. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.